Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel Learn to Code with Noob. So today we will continue the Mobx-state-tree session. So also today we will dive a bit deeper into how you can integrate flat list with your Mobx-state-tree. So flat list, which is backed by Mobx-state-tree. So before actually explaining more into this, I will just go through quickly what is the code or setup which I have done already. Alright, so what I have done already is, if I scroll up a bit, so in our navigation I am supplying a component, right? But now the component is not like this, like how I have supplied the demo component. I'm supplying the component like observer. So what this observer does is it's basically making sure that whatever the changes which we are making in the Mobx-state-tree model, whenever there is a change detected, the home component will get rendered accordingly. So that is the whole purpose of this observer method. Alright, so moving on to our actual to-do store. So in the last video I walked you through related to this to-do store. So now I went ahead and I also created a to-do list store, which basically has a to-do array, right? And this to-do array is an array of to-do MST model. And I also have one action which basically says remove to do. So what this is actually doing is it is basically removing a to do from an array one at a time. That's pretty much it. So what and I have also done is I have basically hard coded 3 to do items. So to do 1, to do 2, to do 3, and I initialized my to do list store with all of these 3 arrays. That's pretty much it, right? And now what I'm doing is I exported this to-do-x list and I went ahead and I also wired this thing up with the flat list. So in the flat list I have this data prop, right? And in this data prop you can give a array of data which we want to display as a list. So and in the render item we can basically define a function to tell flat list how we want to render the data on a list. So a particular item, how this thing will be rendered. So for example, I have an array of list which has to do 1, to do 2, to do 3. So to do 1, how this to do 1, to do 2, to do 3. So how this each element in the list will be rendered, this will be done by this render item. Now comes the key extractor. So flat list actually requires you to have a unique key per item, per list item. So I have done like pretty straightforward thing, like I'm just making an index. So this key extractor, it returns you. So if I go into this key extractor, it has a type of item, whatever your item type is. So in this case it is to do, and the next is index, which is of type number, and this index is like an index of a list item. So I'm just returning a string of this index item, which is acting as a unique key per item in the flat list. If you will not do this, React Native will actually pop up a warning. This is actually also helpful for the performance purposes. So let's say if you have a long list of, like, I don't know, millions of items, this unique key actually makes sure, like, it will only render those items which are changed, and rest of the list remains the same. So it is also used for performance basis. All right, so moving on to the next thing, I have already added a button which says remove to do, and on the press of it, I am just basically triggering that same action, which is this remove to do. So that's pretty much it what I am doing in this whole code base. All right, so what should happen when I press on remove to do? So in theory, what should happen is the MST model will delete a to do array, right? Delete one to do per array. Sorry, delete one to do item one at a time, and we should see like these to do items got removed and get vanished from here, right? That should happen in theory. So whenever this to do array gets removed, so how do this flat list knows that this thing is being removed? So remember the home component, like we wrapped this home component within this observer, right? So this actually tells the home component that okay, the underlying data has changed and you should refresh this component. So all right, so I will just go ahead and tap on this remove to do. So nothing is changing right now. And what I have also done is I have, like, while doing remove to do, I am printing a length of the to do array. So I will just show that to you. So you can see like the to do array went from 3 to 1 and 0, right? But nothing changed. So why is that? Now there is a little bit of catch in the Mobx-state-tree and the flat list. So the first thing is, if you see, the flat list actually takes an array, like it basically takes a read-only array, right? It doesn't take an observable array. So what I actually mean by that is this data is actually not observing on something, right? It is basically a simple array, and if you do remove and add, if it is a simple array, then it gets rendered on its own. But if it's an observable array, flat list basically doesn't listen to those changes. So this array is an observable array. So how I know that is because if you see the array of studios, like it has a return type of IMST array. So we will just see why it is an observable array. Okay, go to do array types dot array, and I will just see over here what this array type is. So we go ahead and you just see that okay, this is a type of an array, right? And what is the type of array? It's an IArray type. And what is that? It extends an IMST array. And what is that? So IMST array is basically an observable array. So what actually it means is the IObservable array is basically wrapped the whole array in an observables, right? But flat list doesn't know what are the changes which are being made. So it is not like it is not basically calling this render item whenever there is a change triggered on this array of to-dos. So what we need to do is we have to find a way to hook into that subscriptions which are fired by MST, right? So if we are doing remove to do, we are actually removing one to do at a time from the MST model, and it is being removed, but flat list is not aware about that. So we want to make flat list aware about it. So how we can do that? All right, so there are ways to convert this observable array into simple array. So what you can do is you can just do dot slice, and what you have done over here is you have basically made a copy of an array, but now this returned copy is not an observable array. So what that actually is, it is not an observable array, it is a simple array. So that's how you basically convert an observable array into a simple array. So now what I'll do is I will just rerun this demo project, right? And now I'll do, see, now it works. All right. So this is one of the gotcha which you need to be aware of when you are actually tying up the Mobx-state-tree into the MST into the flat list, right? So if you are doing that, you need to make sure that the array which you are passing is not an observable array. So basically the explanation behind that is we are actually not using an observer, right? So therefore, like, array modifications don't affect the rendering result from the perspective of observer, right? So the array is accessed later in flat list, right? But flat list is not an observer, so flat list is actually not listening to those changes. So therefore no subscription for array occurs. So basically flat list has not subscribed to this array. So when we do the slice, what we are actually doing is we are basically like artificially subscribing for an array modification. So what we are doing is we are making a copy and basically artificially subscribing to it. So so this kind of works for like very simple object arrays, but if your array object, like an object which, so right now if you see like this, this to do is pretty simple, right? But if it is like a lot more complicated, so for example if you have arrays inside of this, then you need to make like deep copies for this in order for this thing to work. All right, yeah, so that was one of the gotcha which you need to be aware of, and that's how you can basically integrate MST with the flat list. So I will post more videos related to the use cases of MSTs and what are the gotchas which I'm finding out. So keep watching, guys. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like this video, please don't forget to click on the like button. If you don't like this video, please mention why in the comment down below. Like, share and subscribe. Keep learning.